Hi, thanks for coming back to my little crafty secret. For today's process video, I am sharing how I bind my books. I use a Coptic stitch method, and that's what I'll be showing here today. I measure the amount of bookbinding string that I need just by writing across the spine however many times I have signatures. So signatures are the pages that are folded in half, and each of those pages are of course pages, but when you put them together in a group, they're called signatures. Now once I thread my string through the needle, I'm using a curved needle. You can use a straight one if you don't have it, but curved needles work better when you're binding books. I knot the end. I then take my back and my last signature, because I will be binding them together, and I thread the needle and string through the first hole. You can actually start on either side, either the top or the bottom, and you can even start using the front cover of your book, just as long as you get one cover and the very next signature. Now once you thread it through the first hole, you thread the needle through the first hole of your cover. After you do that, you loop around that first stitch. And then you return the needle back through the same hole. Now you want to go through the next hole of the signature. Loop the string through the next hole of the cover. And then loop the string through the previous stitch. Return the needle back through the same hole. Go through the next hole in the signature. Loop through the cover. Loop through the stitch you just made. And then go back through the signature. Now off camera, I did these next few stitches until I got to the end of the cover and first signature. To stitch on the next signature, you would just get the next signature, and instead of looping back through the hole that you just came out of, you want to go through the next signature. So go through that first hole of the next signature. And then you continue the process over again. You go through the next hole, loop through the previous stitch, so the stitch between the cover and that first signature that you stitched on, and then return the needle back through that same hole. At first, when you start the binding, the book is a little floppy, and that's just because you're adding the first stitch in. But as you continue to stitch each signature, it does get tighter. And of course, as you get better at doing this, you will notice there's a certain tension in the book that you're creating when you're stitching on each of the signatures. Off camera, I'm going to stitch on the remaining of the signatures, and I will come back when I am going to stitch on the last signature and the cover. Now that I'm at my last signature, I'm going to stitch the last signature and the cover together. So very similar to how we started off in the beginning, but this time we're going to go opposite. We're going to start through the cover, looping the string through the cover, and then we loop the string through the previous stitch, and then after that we go through the hole of the last signature. Sometimes it is difficult to see that hole because the string is in the way, but what I normally do is just kind of move that string out of the way with my curved needle there. Once you do that, you want to go through the next hole and then repeat the process again. Go through the hole, loop the string through the previous stitch, loop the string through the cover, loop the string through the last stitch you just made. So that's between the last signature and the second to the last signature. Then return the needle through the signature hole. Continue the process all the way down your book until you get to the last hole, and off camera I'm going to do the same. Once I get to the last hole of my book, I'm going to be back and I'll tell you how to close it off. Once you get to the last hole, you want to loop around the previous stitch. Go through the last hole of your cover. Loop around the previous stitch. Return the needle back through the signature. Tie off the thread by looping your thread through the inner stitching. I actually do it 3 times, and I think the reason why it looks a little thick here is because I may have split the thread. Once you do that, you are done binding your book. I hope this video encourages you and inspires you to make your own books. If you like this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Thanks, until next time.